Assalamu alaikum. This is Khurram Shazad from Garrison Academy Senior Campus, Kushal, and I welcome you all to FBISE online sport program. This is the fourth week of our computer classes, and this is the lecture number 10th on the chapter number 2, programming in C. In this chapter, we will understand the chapter introduction. We will introduce the chapter, what we are going to study in this whole chapter. Then we will study about the programming. What is programming? Last time we have discussed only the problem solving. Now we will go further and discuss how can an algorithm or a flowchart is converted into a computer program. We will do programming in this chapter. Then we will discuss what is a computer program, how a computer program is created, what are the parts of a computer program, which are the syntax and the semantics. Then we will discuss about several programming language, and we will discuss which language we are going to use in the whole chapter and which language we are prefer to learn, because there are so many languages in this world. Which language we have decided to learn in this chapter. Then we will discuss about high and low level languages and the difference between high and low level languages. First of all, we will going to get an introduction of the whole chapter. This chapter provides basic knowledge about low and high level languages so that the student can understand their purpose and characteristics in the programming the computer. In programming the computer, student will be understood that what are the high level languages and what are the low level languages, and why we are using the high level languages and not using the low level languages. It describes the main feature of a popular high level languages. It describes the feature and benefits of using high level languages, and the drawbacks are the disadvantages of not using low level languages. This teach students which program language is suitable for developing a particular type of program. And the last part, they describe the structure of a C program, how a C program is created, and what is the basic structure of a C program, and how to write, compile, and execute a program using integrated development environment. Our integrated development environment will be a software which facilitates us to create, execute, and compile computer program. This explains how a program is written, executed using a user-friendly graphical user interface. In the next, we are going to have an introduction with computer programming. Computer programming is the process of writing computer program. A computer programmer is a person who writes computer program, and computer language or programming language is the language in which computer program is written. So first of all, we will discuss what is computer programming. Computer programming is the process of writing computer program in computer language to solve a particular problem. For example, we have modeled or we have analyzed the problem in the form of flowchart and in the form of algorithm. So we are going to implement all these problems into our computer system to solve them here. Computer program control the operation of a computer, and it is developed in the computer language to perform a task. Therefore, it is essential for students to learn the computer languages to solve the various problems. For example, if you want to do something in the real world, you need to learn a language. You must have a language to communicate with each other. So in the same way, when you want to communicate with the computer system, you must have to learn the computer language or the language which computer understands. Computer language are also known as programming languages because the programs are written in these languages, so these are also called programming languages. Computer program. A computer program is a set of instructions or statements written in a programming language to solve a particular problem and achieving specific results. Any task performed by a computer is controlled by a set of instructions that are executed by the microprocessor. A large variety of programming languages have been developed for writing computer programs to use the computer as a problem-solving tool. Each statement of a programming language has a syntax and the semantic. A computer program basically has two parts, the syntax and the semantics. Syntax is the grammar of the language, what we have to do and what we not have to do, and the semantic are the meaning of that words what we are going to do in the programming language. So in this slide you have just learned that what is a computer language. What is a computer program? A computer program is simply a set of instructions, to solve a particular problem by using a computer language, and a program is written by a computer programmer. A computer program have two parts, the semantic and syntax. Now we will go in detail of syntax. Syntax is actually the set of rules of programming language or the grammar of a programming language. For example, this is the syntax of the program. This is the syntax of the program where we have to put a semicolon, where we have to put the parentheses, where we have to put the braces. We cannot ignore these rules while programming. We have to write this program as it is, as the programming language said. So a syntax cannot be ignored while programming. So now we will discuss about what is a syntax. Syntax refers to the rules of a programming language according to which statements of a program are written. Statement means the one complete line which is written in a computer program is called statement. Syntax refers to the rules of the programming language according to which the statements of a program are written. It describes the way to write correct statements in a program. Syntax of a programming language is similar to the grammar of a natural language. For example, an assignment statement consists of a variable and an expression separated by equal sign as an assignment operator. For example, if you have to plus two numbers, you must have to put a plus sign between these two numbers, and for the answer you have to put an assignment, or you have to put an equal sign to show the result or to show the answer. This is the rule of mathematics. In the same way, there are some rules of programming which we are going to discuss, which we are going to use while we are going to do programming in the computer system. This syntax of assignment statement, and it can be expressed as given below. Variable is equal to expression. For example, if we have to put we have to plus two numbers, and to save the answer into a third number, we will write it here. We will assign a variable here and the expression to evaluate here. You may not understand here, but you will understand very quickly while you are on the computer system in the real environment of programming. This is the syntax of a simple stack program. Here we are using some kinds of words which are the keywords and some kind of grammar rule. For example, in English language, it is a rule that where a statement ends, we have to put a dot, or we have to put a comma where we have a little pause. In the same kind of sense, we have some rules here. We have to put semicolon after each statement ends, and we have a brace, an opening brace and closing brace here where we go to define a function. This is not very difficult for you. You will understand it very quickly while you are coding in a real environment. Next thing is semantic. The first part of a program was syntax. Syntax is exactly the way of how a program is written, and we cannot ignore the syntax. But semantic is some kind of different thing. Semantic gives the meaning to the statement of a programming language. Actually, this semantic do nothing. We don't have to write this semantic, but it is only the meaning of the statement. It describes the sequence of the operation to be performed by a computer when executing the statement of a computer program. For example, in the assignment statement, this is an assignment statement which syntax is sum. Sum is equal to a plus b. A plus b will be summed up, and the answer will be stored into some variable. This is a simple syntax which will show that, for example, a and b, if I assign a is equal to 6 and b is equal to 7, when this statement will occur, the both, first of all, the a and b, a is equal to 6 and b is equal to 7, this will produce the 13 will be assigned to the this variable. So this is actually the syntax of a program. The semantic of the statement is to perform the expression. This is add the value stored in the variable a and b and then store the result in the variable c. This is in the common language. For example, we have said that add the value of the store program and save the result. Actually, computer will do this if we describe or not describe this syntax, we have the semantic or not the syntax of this program, this will execute and perform. The semantic is actually performed on the computer and the syntax is performed on the computer. This is the syntax, and the semantic is the English like definition of that statement. So semantic is the actually meaning of that statement, and syntax is the actually way of how a computer program and how things are written. Next, now we will introduce different programming language. We have different programming language. We have almost 800 above good programming language, but why we are choosing some old-fashioned programming language, and what kind of programming language will we choose for our course? First of all, we have to discuss about how many programming language and what kind of programming languages are there, and then first of these things we have to do an introduction. What is a programming language? We have simply said that a language in which a computer program is written is called programming language. Now we will discuss it formally. A programming language is a language which is understood by the computer. A programming language is any language which is understood by the computer. A computer is an electronic machine. It does only understand the electronic language. If we click on the mouse button, we click on the keyboard button, we press the keyboard button, or we perform any kind of voice recognition, the computer only understood signals which are electrical signals. So if we define the electrical signal into computer language, they become the binary language. So it is very simple and understood that the computer can only understand binary language. So if we do coding in the binary language, a computer can easily understand the binary language, but a person who is dealing in the binary language is not very suitable for him, and he is not very comfortable and very fast speed in this programming language. So they have created many more languages which are easy for the human beings and may be difficult for the computer system. So we will discuss a programming language. A programming language is a language which is understood by a computer. It is designed to give instruction to a computer. It is designed to give instruction to the computer to perform a specific task. It is used to write computer program. A programming language can be classified into two categories, that is low level languages and high level languages. Low level languages are the languages which are very easy for the computer to understand and very hard for the human beings to understand. So this is why these are called low languages, because they are low in level for a human being, but they are very effectively and very efficiently understood by the computer system. And there are another kind of language which are high level language. High level languages are the language which are very easy and English like languages and very quickly understandable by persons, by human beings, and computer can be understand it only after compilation or after translating into another language. We will discuss the low level languages. Low level languages are machine oriented language. Machine oriented means computer oriented language which are created for the computer systems. A computer system can very quickly understand these languages. To understand low level languages, detailed knowledge of internal working of a computer is required. because these languages are difficult. These languages are the computer native language and computer languages. If you want to learn the language which is not your native language, for example, if you want to learn the English language, which is the American language, you have to understand their culture, their environment, and you have to spend some hours and some months to learn that language. But if you are required to learn only your native language, which is Urdu or Punjabi, you are very quick to learn it. So in the same way, if you want to learn the computer related language or the language of the computer, you have to spend days in understanding what is computer, how a computer communicates, what a computer says. So these languages are machine oriented. To understand the low level language, detailed knowledge of internal working of a computer is required. Low level languages include machine learning. Machine language is simply the binary language, which is zeros and ones. Everything a computer does is stored in the binary digits, zeros and one. There is no any other word but only zeros and one. Everything is stored in a computer. Everything we do perform on a computer is stored in zeros and ones. And the another language which is low level is a little better than the language is assembly language, which have some word. For example, instead of zeros and ones, we have some keyword. For example, if we want to perform a copy, we will say that copy. We have created some small word which are known as mnemonics. We will discuss in detail what is a machine language and what is assembly language in the next chapter. In this lecture, we have to only introduce with the low level language. So as I have said earlier, that low level languages or the machine oriented language are simple definition. Low level languages are the language which are easy for computer to understand and difficult for a human being to understand. Low level languages are right above the hardware of the computer is directly understandable machine language. Then the one step later, the assembly language is here. So which language is far from the computer hardware are easy to understand. Assembly language is easy to understand as compared to machine language. Then it comes with the high level language, which are very easy to understand. In the high level language, there is Fortran, which is the abbreviation for formula translation. Fortran formula translation. This is the language which we are going to study in the whole course. Then the Pascal, which is a business, and then the visual languages, which are very easy to understand. Now we will discuss about what are the high level. These are the low level language which are directly understandable by computer and difficult for the human beings, and there are machine oriented languages. Now we will go for the high level languages. High level languages are the English oriented languages, and they are commonly used for writing computer program. They are commonly used, not the low level languages are commonly used, but the high level languages are commonly used, because low level languages are not coded in nowadays. Now everyone is using high level language used for writing computer. These languages are English language words such as print, go, if, else. These languages are very easy to understand because they are something like English language. For example, I have shown you some code where you have studied that go to, if, and therefore they are easy to learn and use. So high level languages are easy to learn and use as compared to low level language, which are difficult to learn and use. Some examples of high level languages are Visual Basic, which is Microsoft language, C language, which we are going to study, Java, and Pascal. A program known as compiler. Now the problem is here. If you are using the high level language, which are the English language, but the computer only deals in the binary language, how can you make the computer understand your language while you are dealing in the English? A computer cannot directly understand English, so you have to translate this language. If you are going somewhere, for example you are going to USA, their language is English and your language is Urdu. So first of all, you need to learn the English language. If you learn the English language, you have to leave your native language and learn a new language. But if you are going to learn the computer language, this is the binary language, so you are not going to learn this language because it is a very difficult language. So if you don't want to learn the language and you want to communicate with the person in the USA, you should you may hire a translator here there. You may hire a translator which will convert your Urdu language to English language and their English language to Urdu language. So a translator can do your job without learning the language. In the same way, the programmer have created some softwares which are known as compiler and interpreter, which do the job. They convert our English language into binary language so computer can understand our English, and they translate back the computer's binary language into English language so we can understand the computer language. So a program known as compiler or interpreter is required to translate the high level program into machine language. Coding and debugging of a high level language program is much easier than a program written in the low level language. So low level languages are difficult to even understand, to code and to run in computer system, but high level languages are very easy to even understand, to code, to debug, to run. And anyway, high level languages are more easier than low level languages. High level languages can be classified into procedural languages, structured languages and object oriented languages. We may use these languages according to our requirement. We may choose a procedural language or structured language. We will going to choose the C language, which is a structured languages. Then we will choose the object oriented languages after this class. So in this slide you have understood that high level languages are the English like languages which are easy to understand by the computer, by the human beings. High level languages are easy to understand by the human beings, and high level languages are given to the computer after this translation by a common software which is compiler. A software which will be used for our coding person will do this job perfectly. Our compiler will be dev C++ compiler which will do the job. This is the actually the motivation about the high level languages. High level languages are simple drag and drop language. We do not have to do much coding. We just drop the button here. We just have a visual here. Must have a visual. For example, in the 9th class you have discussed very detailed the 3 environments of a computer system. First environment was CLI computer. CLIC was command line interface, which was difficult for you because you do not have to see many things on this screen. Then you have discussed MDI, which are easier than CLI but difficult in as compared to GUI. But the GUI was very efficient and very productive for use. So high level languages are GUI based. You have to just put a mouse and a keyboard to code these programs. So high level languages are very perfectly good for programming. In the last, I will make a quick summary or review of the whole chapter we have studied here. First of all, we have introduced with the programming. In simple word, programming is the actual process of writing computer program. A programming is a process of writing computer program. If you add something, you may say that a computer programming is the process of writing program to solve a particular problem. Then what is a computer program? A computer program is simply a set of instructions to solve a computer program or to solve a particular problem. Syntax and semantic. A computer program has 2 parts, syntax and semantics. Syntax is the actually the grammar or the way or the rules to write a program, and semantic is the meaning of that statement which we have written in our program. Programming languages are the languages which are understandable by computer and are used to write computer programs. Then high level and low level languages. High level languages are the languages which are English like languages and understandable by human beings and difficult for the computer system, and the low level languages which are directly understandable by computer system and difficult for the human being. This is the today's lecture. If you have any question, you may mention the question right in the group, and and you should improve your attendance because you are only few persons are taking the classes. So you should think about that. If we have covered this important chapter, this is the very important chapter of your even career, or if your whole study, if you are going to do take part in the computer classes, you are going to have a specialization in the computer system and you are going to become a computer expert, a computer programmer, you don't have to miss this chapter. This is the basic chapter. If you don't understand this chapter, you won't understand the next 4 chapter too. So you should have to improve your attendance. Thank you very much for this lecture. Allah Hafiz.